pleasure to meet all at last, and welcome back to the Vlog-A-Thon 4.0, and welcome back to another time where I need to talk a little bit serious about some things in my life, because after all, there have in fact been a lot of in and out issues that I've seemed to pick up along the way. This whole entire year, as a matter of fact, has been a bit questionable, but I can at least consider it to be not a bad year. A lot of people might argue otherwise, but 2020 shouldn't be given the blame or the fingers just because of some things that we could not control, okay? We had no control over a virus spreading all over the entire world. We had no control over the fact that, well, racial injustice had taken place. And we certainly will not have control over 100 million other things in life. They just happen. 2020 itself should have been a good year, mind you that, but you know what? Things just happened. And of course that's apparently enough to convince people that this year has sucked. Which is especially wrong. I mean, if we can't control any of this stuff, then, well, no one can. But again, I feel like I'm getting off track here at this point because there are in fact other problems that I seem to be coming over because, well, first of all, gaming with Kaiju Force Neo has actually gone through some delays. And even though I've actually been working so far ahead, it's safe to say that some things might actually end up changing. Maybe not for the best. And the reason that is because, well, first of all, the PlayStation 4 that I've gotten has finally met its fate. After months and months of continuous playthroughs and all that good stuff and recordings and the like, I can't really say much about it, but from what I already know, the PlayStation 4 that we've gotten, which was an original 2013 model release version, has finally met its end of the road pretty much. After about 7 years of continuous usage and playthroughs and everything else that we could ever possibly do with a PlayStation 4, it's pretty much met its fate at this point. It's met its end. It's, well, broken down. Kind of destroyed from the inside out. Basically, the thing is that the PlayStation 4 has been going through a lot of terrible issues since August of 2020. At one point near the end of August of 2020, when I was playing 3 games at the time, The Last of Us Part 2, Dauntless, and Dead by Daylight on PS4, the system ended up crashing and lagging a bit. Till eventually I was able to get it rebooted just fine, but then of course I looked over to the capture gallery on the PS4 and every single megabyte of footage that I had there was all erased. That was especially frustrating because I put nearly 1 whole week of my time to play The Last of Us Part 2. That was especially irritating. I mean, could you ever imagine sinking in tons of your own free time just to play through a game and then all of a sudden you have to start all the way back at the beginning? I mean, I couldn't really stand for that at all. But trust me, it only got worse down the line because it was a little easy for me to recover from that by simply playing through everything that I already did in The Last of Us Part 2 and then gathering up some new footage from that, as well as Dauntless and Dead by Daylight. Of course, I didn't play any of those for quite some time. I did not want to really, waste a ton of my time on just those because, well, I was having a lot of deadlines. Because as I've explained earlier, my process of buying a game off Amazon, playing through it, and then sending it back before the time limit expires based on return statuses, and likewise, it was a bit of a competition for me to see how fast I could play through some of those games before the time would be up, and then I wouldn't be able to ship it back and get a refund. So of course that's pretty much kind of why I was struggling in a little bit. And not to mention, it was also because of the fact that I had also picked up Resident Evil 3, the remake, as well as Predator Hunting Grounds. All 3 of those were brand new 2020 releases that I was playing for the first time. So of course I went ahead and did as much as I could of The Last of Us Part 2, and I was only able to get about 17 hours into it. Meanwhile, I was also able to play through Resident Evil 3 and Predator Hunting Grounds over another certain period of time, And then of course I was able to ship them all back, no problem. But of course we can't forget the fact that, well, that one crash that left The Last of Us Part 2 pretty much worth none of my time at the point in time that I had encountered this problem. It was not the only problem that the PS4 had. By mid-September of 2020, not even a month later, that was when the PS4 encountered the very first corrupted data related reinitialization process. Basically speaking, I ended up turning off the PS4 at one point and then turning it back on after some time off, pretty much. That's when I found out that it had automatically warped into the safe mode, and then it just tells me that I cannot start the PS4 and then I have to manually plug in a DualShock controller and set up reinitialization files to it. I basically had to remove the old software that had been corrupted on the PS4 and replace it with fresh new files. It took me a few days to figure that whole entire thing out, but by the time I did so, I was pretty much back in business. But again, it was a temporary fix. Because after some time, it happened again, and then it happened again, and then again, and then again, and then again, and again, and again, and again, and again, and again. Pretty much the rest of September, throughout October, and throughout November, and pretty much up until this point, is when I had to continuously deal with these recurring problems. The PS4 would occasionally work just fine, but then all of a sudden revert back to the safe mode and prompt me to upload reinitialization files all over again. So, I pretty much just had to keep repeating that every single time. It got to a point where I was so stressed out from all these times that every single one of these times have happened that, well, you can pretty much look up on my channel. There was actually a milestone challenge that involved me destroying that old PS4. Of course, I seem to talk a lot about this situation better in that video compared to this one, but the point is, I got a new PlayStation 4. It was a slim model, and I got it on sale, but the point is that, well, that PlayStation 4 has come to the end of the road. And with that, some possible changes to Gaming with Kaiju Force Neo might have to be set into place. Because, well, first of all, I am in fact at a point where I don't really know how this new PlayStation 4 is going to work out for me, but it's currently operating just fine, but I'm still pretty skeptical, and I cannot seem to possibly predict when something like this is going to happen again. If it does happen again, then I don't really know. Thankfully, I've kept the receipt, and well, I've also gotten my hands on the PlayStation Network account that I also have, in which that it can actually save game data. That's right. I didn't realize this until sometime after that, and up until this point in time, I had been taking little to no risks or chances. And every time I recorded something, I made sure to put it onto a USB flash drive that I have that also contains the firmware files that I'll need in case the PlayStation 4 needs to be reinitialized again. So basically speaking, my process is that, well, after the PlayStation 4 is completely reinitialized and it boots up, I put in all the information I need, including the passwords, the time settings, and the passwords to the router, and all that good stuff, and not to mention the setup of the game as well, frame size, as well as the broadcasting settings to where I have the video clips option set to 60 minutes, so that way I can pretty much get the best potential out of my experiences without having to really save a ton of clips at once. So, the bottom line here is that there's a new PlayStation 4 around, and I'm certainly going to be using it for a while now. I don't know exactly when I'll possibly stop using it, but in case if anything does happen, then well, I don't really know. A lot of things for Gaming with Kaiju Force Neo might have to be canceled, and I might have to send every copy of every game that I have right now back to where they came from and get the refund money from them. I might not be able to play video games anymore for any of those reasons. And Gaming with Kaiju Force Neo would have to go through a lot of changes as a whole. Season 6 is barely finished. Season 7 still needs some work as well. 8 and 9 also need some work, and everything else will also need some work done to them. So that's pretty much just a big domino effect that goes through. When one season ends up not finished because of one problem with my console, then a lot of stuff follows. That's kind of what a domino effect is like in this case. So, other than that though, I can at least hope that this new PS4 is going to work just the way I want it to be. And if you want to see more go down on my channel, then make sure that you like, subscribe, comment, follow me on social media, and stay on the Hollywood side.